You know, this lady who is so amazing, she and her husband, this is Penny Maxwell that I'm going to ask up in a minute, Pastor Penny Maxwell, she and her husband, they are pastors of Freedom House Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I've got to tell you, I'm just a little bit biased because I met this girl and she has been my friend ever since. And you are going to love her. She's been here before, but you know, how many speakers come and just text you? They come to your women's thing, and then they start texting you. Hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, I'm praying for you today. She is an amazing woman of God who's not just surface. She's not just here for a gig. She's actually here to impart the things on the inside of her into you. And I want you to know tonight, if you'll just be in that place of being completely open, the giftings that this woman has on her life will actually be imparted onto you. So without further ado, why don't you give Pastor Penny Maxwell a big hand.
Oh my goodness, I love you. I love you ladies. I don't love your traffic, but I love you. You guys be seated, be seated. Well, you probably didn't know this, but y'all are family. So we consider ourselves to be your sister church in Charlotte. So just in case you didn't know, you have a family in Charlotte who loves and adores you and thinks you are absolutely amazing. And your pastors, oh my goodness, give it up for them. They are the best of the best, are they not? And speaking of family, I wanted to bring a picture and show you guys my family because all three of my kids are single, and this is the only way I figure I'm going to get them married off. So my son is 20, and he just bought his own house, so he's got everything but the girl, okay? And then my daughter on the back in the blue, she is 18. Then my daughter on the right, she is 16. And that's my handsome hubby. We just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. So fun. I'll tell you about that in a second. But here's how I wanted to kind of start off tonight. Some of you I have had the pleasure and amazing, incredible experience to hang out with and talk to, and some of you I have not. So let me just kind of start off with this for those of you who don't know me. The thing that is going to really impact you and to impart to you is something that I had a really good lesson on this week. So the devil did everything he could possibly try to do to get me to not be able to be here tonight. And literally tried to put all this different sickness stuff on me. And I have been, in the last month, I've been in 5 different countries. I flew home, then had to go right back out to Chicago, then had to fly right back, had my women's conference last week, and then came here this week. And let me just tell you, the devil was like trying to work overtime. And so I didn't even have time to go to the doctor. I didn't know what was going on in my body. It was just like not cooperating, right? So I called a doctor in our church, and thank goodness it was a female because of what ensued. But I called her over, and I was like, I don't have time to go to the doctor, and I don't know what's going on with me, but can you just come and make a house call? And she said, absolutely. So she comes over with like this whole pharmacy, right? She's got all this stuff. She begins to look in my throat because it was like swelling closed. It was all this stuff going on. She's looking in my ears. She's looking at my eyes. And then she begins to make her diagnosis. And she begins to tell me what she thinks is going on. And she said, but actually, I'm going to leave these medications with you, but I'm going to need to give you 2 shots. And I was like, okay. I mean, if that's what we got to do. She's like, because I need this to kind of like take rapid effect. So we're going to need to give you 2 shots. And I was like, okay. And I started like rolling up my sleeve, and she said, and this girl goes to my church. And I was like, no, like don't roll up my sleeve. She said, nope. She said, I'm gonna need you to drop your drawers. And I was like, crud. So, I kind of like do the half cheek thing, And so she gives me a shot in my cheek. And I was like, well, you said you had 2, didn't you? She goes, yeah, it has to be 1 per cheek. So I was like, you never saw this side of your pastor before, but here you go. And it was like in that moment of vulnerability, it was like God spoke something very powerful to me. He said, sometimes in order for you to get what you need, you're going to have to be willing to be vulnerable, and you're going to have to be willing to show something you didn't want to show, expose something you didn't want exposed for your betterment. Not to embarrass you, not so she can count your stretch marks, right? Because I'm going, man, this girl goes to my church. She's got to look at my backside. But do you know what I've found that often that we do? Is especially those of us who are in leadership positions, we reason away why we don't have to expose ourselves. So I'm like, I'm this girl's leader, I'm her pastor, but it's like the Lord said to me, sometimes somebody else has what you need. Are you willing to relinquish your pride and your humility? Like, can you bring that out to get what you need? So can I ask that of you tonight? Like, don't physically drop your drawers, but maybe just like from a spiritual sense, just allow God to do something because he's got what you need. And sometimes it's like we just have to be willing to let him do what he wants to do, and not in the way, I was ready to roll up my sleeve. I was ready to take a pill, but it's a whole different thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Anybody with me on that? All right, so I was telling you that I just celebrated 25 years of marriage. And I'm telling you, my husband, this is not typically him, but he had this whole European trip planned out, and I was really quite shocked because, he doesn't do that. He just doesn't, I love him, but he's not, I usually have to tell him what I want for my birthday. I usually have to say, hey, babe, this is coming up. Don't forget, but he did a really good job on this. And so of all the different things that he planned, one of my favorite things is literally one day as the sun was setting, he had rented this little boat, and it was a sketch boat, and I was a little nervous to get on it because I'm not sure that would have been able to fly in the United States. I think it probably would have been banned. But we get in this little boat and we drive over on the water to the island of Capri. And he has this whole little thing planned. We're watching the sunset over the island of Capri. And I am just in awe. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I literally tried over and over again to get a really good picture so I could show all my friends on Instagram, but it wouldn't, the beauty of it, I couldn't capture it on my phone. And so I kept trying, and I'd hold it up again, and I'd look at it, and I'd keep trying, and it just wasn't translating. You guys know what I mean. Every time you take a picture of yourself, it just doesn't translate as gorgeous as it is. So I am literally holding it up, and it's just not working. So finally, I'm just in that moment, I just said, there's not really, I don't know that I could capture this moment other than in my heart. And it reminded me of this beautiful scripture, Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the skies proclaim the work of his hands. Amazing, beautiful, incredible, kind of like this story of how this conference got started over just beautiful piece of art that somebody made. And Pastor Sunny looked at it and she said, I see something in there that's beautiful, that's amazing. And this whole conference birthed from something like that. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, man, this is spectacular. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's incredible. But do you know what? Do you know it's not the most beautiful thing that God ever made? Do you realize that as gorgeous as the Swiss Alps are and the snow-capped mountains in Colorado or the Hawaiian Islands, it's not God's greatest masterpiece. His greatest masterpiece is you, sitting right there in your seat. You are God's greatest masterpiece, his greatest gift, his greatest beauty. As a matter of fact, Ephesians 2:10 says this, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus, so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago." I want you to remember those words, long ago. God created good things for us to do as his masterpiece long ago. He looked at you and said, you are one of a kind. You were beautiful. You're more amazing than a sunset over the island of Capri. That's how incredible you are. That's how amazing you are. Well, if that's the truth, why do so many of us struggle? Why do we struggle with our value? Why do we struggle thinking we are a work of art, we are beautiful? Why do we struggle so much to think that a God who made everything could actually make us valuable? And the reason that I know we struggle and we have a hard time with that is we oftentimes let what somebody else says about us reign supreme. We let our past, our hurts, our failures, our mistakes, things that have happened to us in life that have overcome us at points, we thought we'd gotten through it, but we find ourselves in the same ditch over and over. Now, why are we struggling with the same hurts, the same pains, the same issues if we truly believe we are a work of art? If we truly believe that we are God's most beautiful creation, why do we struggle the way that we do? Why don't we believe that we could actually be a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously? Why would that not be a possibility? But oftentimes we don't go there. We go to our brokenness. We go to our hurt, we go to the shame and the guilt of our past and feel like we just can't get free from it sometimes. You know, guilt is a wrongness of doing. I did something wrong. Shame is a wrongness of being. It's not that I did something wrong. Shame says I am something wrong. And we allow this guilt and this shame and this hurt from the past. It could be mistakes that we've made that maybe we asked for forgiveness for and God's forgotten, but we keep reminding ourselves. It could be abuse that we went through. I know for me, for 10 years of my childhood, I was sexually abused. Sexually abused by people who were supposed to look out for me, people who were supposed to care for me. I watched marriages in my family crumble between my mom and my dad, 8 marriages. There has to be a point where what happened, but it becomes part of our story and part of our testimony and not something that constantly holds us back and holds us captive. But sometimes it's so easy to believe that a broken crayon won't still color. Did you know that no matter what's happened to you, God looks at you and sees you as beautiful, as amazing, as a work of art, like that beautiful art when I'm walking in, the whole logo and within theme. It's a masterpiece. It's a work of art. But oftentimes we will sell ourselves short and believe what somebody else has to say over what the creator of the universe has to say. How in the world? Like, if God doesn't think I'm damaged goods, why do I take that on? Why do I not let go of what somebody spoke over me, somebody said over me? Why is that? I truly believe the answer is because we don't understand our value. If we understood our value, we'd never again have to question who we are. When the creator of the universe, and this is the thing, like when I was on my trip, and one of the things that we did is we went and looked at, Michelangelo's art, and there were literally, I kid you not, thousands of people waiting to get a glimpse of David and his artworks. And I'm thinking, hey, you're looking at a masterpiece right here. There should be thousands in line waiting to look at you because you are God's workmanship. You're his amazing work of art. Way better. See, God created Michelangelo. And we're excited over what Michelangelo created. God created Michelangelo, who created the David that everybody flocks to go and look at and behold. When the creator of the universe specifically formed and fashioned you for a purpose. And what I just read to you, it says he did it long ago. So when we're going to recall our past, why not recall the one that he created for us long ago? That's the past that I want to think about. That's the past that I want to bring up. But let me just show you a little bit, girls. Let me show you what God thinks about you. Sometimes this was helpful for me to get this in perspective. So I want to kind of help us girls out a little bit tonight. Psalm 139, verse 14. Oh yes, you shaped me first inside, then out. You formed me in my mother's womb. I thank you, high God. You're breathtaking. Body and soul, I am marvelously made. I worship in adoration. What a creation. You know me inside and out. You know every bone in my body. You know exactly how I was made, bit by bit. How I was sculpted. Do you hear this, ladies? How I was sculpted from nothing into something. Like an open book, you watched me grow from conception to birth. All the stages of my life were spread out before you. The days of my life were all prepared before I'd lived one day. Do you see the intentionality in that? You just weren't some accident. You weren't happenstance. You were formed and fashioned and made with a purpose and a destiny. You were intentional. You are a work of art. There is something within you that God wants to get out of you, but he's got to get you to believe that you truly are valuable, or you're going to settle for any voice that comes along. Any voice that comes along, if we don't know who we are, we will believe that voice. Let me give you just a few for those of you who just need a little bit more. I just want you to know this about yourself, about you, your body, you sitting right there in that seat. You ready to hear this? This is about you. Check this out, okay? If your DNA were uncoiled, it would stretch 10 billion miles all the way from Earth to Pluto and all the way back again. Your DNA, your human skeleton, your bones renew themselves every 10 years. Your bones completely recreate themselves every 10 years. Your brain contains 86 billion nerve cells. 86 billion, joined by 100 trillion connections. That's more than the number of stars in the entire Milky Way. You, right there in your seat. You. There are so many nerve cells in your brain that it would take almost 3,000 years just to count them. Just to count them. Pretty spectacular. And just one day, you blink over 11,500 times and you can distinguish between 10 million different colors. This is describing your body. You. Every time you take just one step, you're invoking over 200 muscles. One step, just one step. 200 muscles in your body are called to action. Your brain has a memory capacity. This is like, I don't get this because I am not a millennial, but for those of you who are millennial will understand. Your brain has a capacity to the equivalent of more than 4 terabytes on a hard drive. I do not know what that means, but it sounds like a heck of a lot. A heck of a lot, okay? 50,000 cells in your body died and were completely replaced just while I'm reading this one sentence. Unreal how your body is formed and fashioned. And I'm not done. I'm not done because you need to know more. I need this to drop 12 inches from your head to your heart, and I need you to get a hold of this. Get a hold of this, okay? All right, here we go. Your heart will pump 182 million liters of blood during your lifetime. By the end of your life, you will be able to recall 150 trillion pieces of information. 300 million cells die in your body every minute, and every day your body will reproduce 300 billion new ones every day. And for those of you who have been pregnant or are pregnant right now, your nose can differentiate 1 trillion different smells. You know that is the honest to goodness truth. And here's the one that I really want you to hone in on, okay? This is the last one I'm going to give you. Your body is made of about 7 octillion atoms. Now, I did not know what 7 octillion was, so the young millennials on my staff, I said, I need you to send me what that number is. And I'm going to read to you this number. Are you ready? 7, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000, 000. 7 octillion. That's your body. Your body. 37 trillion cells are in your body. Do you realize how intricately you are made? It's no wonder the devil tries to put evolution into things, because it can try to talk you out of the creation. If you can talk people out of creation, you can try to talk them out of their value, their worth. No wonder so many people are having an identity crisis. Well, of course you do if you think you came from an ape. I mean, shouldn't we all be? But when you realize just how intensively God made and created you, how easy does it become to get over things that were holding you back? When you realize, hey, you know what? Maybe I do have some value. Maybe I do have some worth. Maybe the fact that I struggled with an addiction. Hey, maybe the fact that I've struggled with insecurity. For me, when I read this, I have a hard time feeling insecure when the creator of the universe made me like this. It's really hard to be insecure and know these facts. It's really difficult. So why sometimes do we let people tell us, based upon our past, based upon our family, based upon our circumstances, why do we let other people put a price tag on us? You know, when you realize who you are, you stop giving other people discounts. when you get a hold of your value, you're not so cheap at the store anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? Case in point, I brought a little something to show you. So my husband, this was another time he got it really good. So I told you guys, we've been married for 25 years. So literally, we got married 25 years ago, and then 2 weeks after we were married, it was my 21st birthday. And so I was thinking, man, I am actually legal now. I couldn't even sip champagne on my honeymoon night. And 2 weeks later, I'm like, whoa, I'm 21, the big 2-1. And my husband said, babe, I got you the greatest gift. Now, he didn't start botching up gifts till a little later, like buying me Tupperware for Valentine's Day and stuff. This was like when he was really doing a good job. And so he's like, I got you this really amazing gift, and I just want you to know you're going to love it. You're going to love me. Like, I'm going to get major husband points. And so he said it's such an amazing gift. My mom and my grandma and I, all three of us, went in and bought you this gift for your birthday. And I'm thinking, it took 3 of you to buy this gift? Like, what the heck could this gift be? And so he makes it up, this whole big deal, and we get this package, and I open it up, and lo and behold, it was Louis. It was Louis. And I was like, babe, you are getting lucky tonight. I was like, that you did brilliant. It's amazing. And I'm going to tell you, like, when you get something like that, there's something it just does to you. Like, you just kind of, do you know how you walk a little bit different? Do you know what I mean? Where you're like, yeah, yeah, hey girls, like, what's up? And I just remember, like, I just walked a little bit different. I was just so proud and so excited that they thought that much of me, that the 3 of them would literally go in and do this. And I remember just like getting my swagger on, and it was a Saturday morning, and I had to go to Sam's Club. Anybody been to Sam's Club? Like, you know? And so I'm like walking around. At this point, you know, I'm just like 2 weeks in, so I'm not having any kids yet for my accessories. So I had Louis, and I walk in and I get the cart out, and there's the place where the kids go, and I'm like, well, this is my baby. And I sit my baby like down in the cart, and I'm just like, there you go, Louis. You just have a good little seat right there. And you know, and I'm 21. This is like the biggest thing that's ever happened to me, right? And so I'm pushing around Louis in the cart, and this woman comes up to me, and she's like, oh my gosh, that's a good one. And I was like, thanks. And she goes, no. I mean, like, that is a really good one. I've never seen one that good. And I was like, I'm not really sure. It feels like there's a little something under there. Like, I'm not really sure what she's trying to say to me right now. And she's like, no, that is a good one. Like, I'm not sure I've seen one that good. And I said, like, what? What do you mean a good one? And she's like, that's a really good fake. Like, I haven't seen one that good. I mean, she's like, I'd almost be willing to buy it off of you. It's such a good one. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, and she's like, no. Like, it's a fake. She's like, it's a really good fake. And I was like, well, like, why do you say that? And she's like, oh. She's like, you see how on this side the L and the V's are up? Well, if you flip it around the other side, they're upside down. And I was like, oh, crud. Like, and something that I was so excited about, so elated about, just was like walking around like, oh yeah, baby. All of a sudden, I was like, it's a fake. Like, why would, I don't even like it anymore. Like, why, how did this happen? And I was like, oh my gosh, I remember what my husband said. He said that the 3 of them went in together, they all pooled their money, and then his cousin, Patricia, who travels overseas a lot, They gave it to her so they wouldn't have to pay duty on it, and so they wouldn't have to pay import taxes, and they could get it a whole lot cheaper than if they were to buy it in the US. And all this is like running through my mind. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this woman just showed me that my handbag is a fake. And I can't believe this. I am so upset. And it was before the days of cell phones. So I had to wait to get home to fuss at my husband. I was so devastated. I was literally like feeling nauseous. Like, babe, this was like supposed to be a gift. It's not even real. And he's like, well, how do you know this? And I'm like, because the lady at Sam's Club told me. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, it's not real. It's fake. It's fake. It's upside down. Like it's like VL. It's not even LV. It's like upside down. And he's like, well, babe, I can tell you we paid, I don't know what happened. And he's like, well, I'm calling Patricia, my cousin. I was like, don't call her. She's just going to feel bad. Like, don't call her. Like, not all of us need to feel bad. Just let me have this moment, like, to realize that I had a fake handbag, okay? And, like, at least for 3 days, I thought I had a real Louis Vuitton, okay? And he's like, babe, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know any of this. And I was like, well, now we know. And so he's like, well, I'm calling Patricia anyway. And so I'm like, fine, call Patricia. And he puts her on speakerphone. He's like, Patricia, hey, listen. And he explains to her what happened. And she's like, the handbag is not a fake. And he was like, well, Patricia, you know, the L and the V and all of this. And she's like, well, who told you it was a fake? And I was like, the lady at Sam's Club, okay? She told me it's a fake. I have a fake. And she's like, Penny, I bought it. I bought it for you. I bought it at a Louis Vuitton store. It's not a fake. And I was like, well, the lady, she said, and she showed me exactly how to tell. And you know, have you like, you start yicking, like you're like, I'm like, for 3 days I was peaceful, and now I'm distraught. And she goes, well, Penny, like you're kind of like blowing this up a bit. She goes, why don't you just take it and have it authenticated at the store, the Louis Vuitton store in Richmond? And I was like, well, I kind of didn't think of that. So I walked in, and the lady was standing there at the counter, and I walked in, and I was like, hey, would you do me a favor? Would you look at this? Can you just look at that for me? And she's like, yeah. And she looks at it, and she looks at me, and I was like, do you notice anything? And she goes, I'm sorry, is there something? And I'm like, well, yeah. Is it real or is it a fake? I just need to know. And she goes, she opens it up. She's like, okay, it's real. Here's the number. Here's the key. Here's the lock. It's a real handbag. Was there a problem? I said, well, why is the L and the V upside down on this side? And she said, because it's one continuous piece of leather. I went home that day, and I thought to myself, how many times do we do that in life? We let somebody else dictate our worth, dictate our value, and it was a crazy lady at Sam's Club. She literally changed everything I thought. She changed what I was thinking. She made me not even value a gift that had been given to me because I believed what she had to say. But do you know all God needed to do? He said, let me authenticate you. I don't care what's happened. I don't care what you've walked through. I don't care what you've been through. I don't care who spoke what over you. It may be some random woman in Sam's Club. It may have been your mother, your father, a teacher. It may have been a previous leader at another church. And you've had a hard time connecting in here because of something somebody else spoke. But here's what I want you to know. God has authenticated you. Doesn't matter what you think. He says he's authenticated you. He says you're an original. You're a one of a kind. And you know the good thing about an original? This is 25 years old handbag. And it still looks really good. When you're an original, you can go through a bit and you're okay. You're all right. Because you know you've been authenticated. You know your value. You know your worth. And listen, we're not the only ones that have struggled with this. I was reading something recently in the Bible, and it was about Moses. And it was about how Stephen in the New Testament is literally standing in front of the whole Sanhedrin. And he's describing Moses. And here's what he says. In Acts 7:22, Moses says to the whole religious group, Stephen says, Moses was educated in all wisdom of the Egyptians, and he was powerful in speech and in action. But is that what Moses saw himself as? Exodus 4:10. Moses says to the Lord, "Pardon your servant, Lord. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and I'm slow of tongue." Isn't it interesting how sometimes other people can have a better perspective of us than we do? That's why it's so important, no matter what somebody else says, whether it's good, whether it's not, that we believe what the Word of God has to say. You know, sometimes the most destructive voice is not the external one. Sometimes it's the internal one. Because we've been through some stuff in life, we've got some hurts, we've got some pains, and it overcomes us at times. But let me just tell you, that's why Psalms 23 that says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." It doesn't say I camp out, I hang out, I pitch a tent, I stay there. All of us go through the valley of the shadow of death sometimes. All of us have faced that. All of us have experienced it. All of us have hurt at times. But do we hold on to that, or do we let go of that? God never said that weapons formed against us would not come. He said weapons formed against you will not prosper. So what do we do with those weapons? What do we do when stuff happens? I think first, when you recognize your value, it doesn't much matter what anybody else has to say. I'll never forget this as long as I live. Our church was 2, maybe 3 years old. And there was a woman that came in church, and it was kind of set up like this. She came in this direction, and I was standing over here. And she walked in, she was walking this direction, and on her left shoulder, there was something freaky going on. And I was like, "God, what is that?" He said, "You need to go talk to her. There's a demon on her shoulder." And I was like, "Jesus, you sure you don't want, like sometimes you heal people and they didn't have to, you didn't have to touch them or nothing. You want one of those healings, Jesus?" And he's like, "You need to go over there." And I walk over to this woman, and I literally see a demon sitting on her shoulder, and he's got his hand over, like doing this whispering in her ear. And I'm just going, like, God, how do I even start? Like, what do you want me to say to her? I mean, like, I'm like year 2 of being a senior pastor, and I got a demon coming into church. And so I said to her, "Is everything okay? Like, are you okay?" And that opened up the door. She said, "No, I've been struggling. I've been struggling a lot. She said, I've been struggling with my value. I've been struggling, feeling depressed. I've had suicidal thoughts. My past won't leave me alone. I feel like a failure. I feel worthless. I feel nothing. She said, and it's even gotten to the point, and this woman was like 38. She lifts up her sleeves and she's been cutting herself. She's like, this voice just keeps ringing in my head. You're not good enough. You'll never make it. All the things that happened to you growing up, you're damaged goods. You're no good. You can't do what God has called you to do. There's too much in your life. And she's literally hearing these voices. And I said to her, there is a demon sitting on your left hand shoulder, and he's crouched over and he's whispering in your ear right now. I said, these voices that you are hearing, these are not your own voices. These are the voice of a demonic influence that was sent to take you down and cause you to devalue your worth. And she looked up at me. She had tears flowing down her face. And she said to me, she goes, wait a minute. Do you mean to tell me that these voices I've been hearing are not my own? And I said, no, they're not. I said, but I need to know what you want to do about it, because he is sitting on your shoulder right now, and I kind of don't want him in Freedom House Church today, okay? Like, what do you want to do about it? And she said, no, she didn't. I'm going to tame what she said. She said, I'm ticked off. I had no idea that this was the devil doing this to me. Now that I know that he's doing this to me, I'm mad. I've been allowing this. I've been putting up with this. I've been letting these voices overtake me. Now that I know it's the devil, she said, I am ready to fight. I was like giving up. I was laying down. I was quitting. This is the devil against me. So we prayed, and that little thing jumped off her shoulder and ran out the door. And honestly, I was like wondering, is it going to go through a wall? Like what? Like I was watching, and it went right out the door. And if the worship team could come up for me, this is what I want you to know tonight. There are a lot of you in this room who are dealing with the voices. The voice of rejection, the voice of your past. You can't make it. You're not good enough. Do you think they'd let you lead if they knew what you did, if they knew what your struggles were? Your body isn't perfect enough. Can't you see the reflection in the mirror? Like, how do you think you can go and fulfill the call of God on your life when there are so many issues you have? How many times is there something sitting on your shoulder and you thought it was just you? And there was an assignment sent to take you out, and you sat down and you said, I guess I am worthless. I guess I'm not that good. I guess maybe I'm not that valuable. Maybe I do have a lot of flaws. Maybe I should just go ahead and end it. Who would miss me anyway? But I'm asking you not to sit down and take it, but to stand up and fight it. Will you stand up with me tonight?